file and get it. Okay, if you look at this file now, I have different data types that have been recorded in here, apparently, but you will probably look at it as one or two data types. And the first one is, let me quickly go through this and then I'll use this spreadsheet to explain. It says we have if you look at this chart, we have name, we have the storage size, we have the description, we have the range. Okay, so first one is the small int, right? The small int, all these ones you see on this page right now, they're all numerical data types. They're all numerical, which is their numbers. So we have the small int, which is the smallest of all data type you can have. And if you look at the storage, it says it takes 2 bytes in storage size, and then in a small range interval, and it starts from -32.7868 to +32.767. And then that is the size, and that is the range where you can have. Anything outside of this range, then it goes into what is called an integer, because the storage size would need to increase. So that is why. And the integer is 4 bytes, and it's typically the choice we see. Most of the time we use integer, stuff like that. And why we talk about data types is because it is the way the data you have imputed in your software, in this case, we're looking at Excel, is going to be stored. And the storage also matters a lot because that is going to actually affect the total size of the file in question. Okay. Now we have integer, then you have a big int, which takes 8 bytes, and then you have the decimal, and that says it's variable. I mean, all these small int, big int, and integer, they normally can be whole numbers and do not, but once you know that your data really is going to be like the type of money, then you have to use either money. In some cases, like in SQL, you can use money, and or in other software, you probably use decimal or you use numeric. And in that case, you will be able to handle the decimal. You can see it like when I was creating the table the other time, I did use decimal, and I said 18,2, which is the length of the whole column will be 18, and the last two to the right of that column will be my decimal, which is 2 decimal places. Okay, numeric and decimal are almost the same thing. They're the same thing, so you can use them interchangeably as well. Depends on what your preference is, right? Some people use decimal, some people use numeric. And then you have the real, and the real is precision, which is 6 decimal precision. And then you have double precision, which is up to 15 decimal digits precision. And then you have the small Sierra, and that is an auto incremental data type. And then you have this Syria, and then you have the big Syria. Now you also now have the character, which is what you remember when I was talking about nvarchar and char and okay, nvarchar and varchar and then nchar and then char, okay, and then text as well. So those are textual or numeric or character data type. Okay, so you have, and they vary in length, so you have to specify what the length size as well. I'm going to show you 1 or 2 examples later on. And then we have the Boolean as well, which is a yes, no, or a 1 or 0. Yes, no. Boolean is yes, no, yeah, or true or false. And then true you can represent with 1, and then false you represent with 0. Yes is no as well, or off or on. Okay. And then we have the date time. And the date time can be split into two. One, you can have the date time stamp, which we have the date and the time stamp with it. And then some, you can have the date and the time stamp with it with the zone, time zone. Like you have the date times, we have the UTC, which is the Universal Time and Time Conversion. And then you have the American one, you have the GMT one as well, the different one. But normally, some applications do require you to be time zone specific as well, but most of the time in another situation in data and engineering, you don't really need the time zone precision. Okay. And then you can see the timestamp without the time zone. And then you have the date, and then you have the date, no, okay, the timestamp, and then you have the time without the zone as well. So this is actually separating that. Okay, this is actually separating that. So you just have the date, and then you have the time stamp to it, and you may not have the time stamp to it, depends on. And the timestamp can be with the zone or without the zone as well. And then here we have the JSON timestamp, I mean data type. And the JSON data type is becoming more popular these days, especially because of big data, because of like the classes you've been taking with GD. You can have files coming in JSON format, and you want to read them in SQL. So like you can see here, yeah, in this case, we might look at it as going, oh, this is a cat or something, but this is actually not the normal relational database data type. This is actually JSON, but it's now being accommodated in um, um, relational databases now because of the advent of the data, big data. Okay. Any questions on this brief overview on data types before I move in? So now let's look at this. For example, you can see here this total column in this spreadsheet, right? It is stored as if you look at the data type, if once, if you look at it in this data type, right? Okay, the data types in Excel is where you find it. You have the numbers, you have the currency, you have the fraction and scientific and all the stuff like that. But this one, you can see no specific format. So meaning that there's no specific format that has been specified for this particular data in here. And okay, yeah. But here, if you look at this one also is being specified with no specific format because it's general as well. But you can see it's got a decimal points in place, but it has been stored here as with no specific format. But when you come into Power, sorry, I said Power BI. If you come when you come into your database, especially SQL database, then you have to specify the data type. So I'll quickly take us back into, let me bring this into here as well. So let's look at some of our tables here. You can see here, let's look at this one. Okay, and I open this, the definition of this one. Okay, you can see here that we have defined as the end vector, meaning that we're storing character in here. And then you can see this one is enchar, and this one is envarchar. The difference is just the sizes, the storage sizes this data is going to contain. They're all this data here. They're all they're all textual data types, but then the we're using enchar reading is probably going to be the 4-byte storage, and this is going to be, I know this is the 32-bit storage, the end voucher. And then also I also have the variable character, which is the voucher without the n, right? The n in this variable VACHA, it stands for non-Unicode, and that is meaning that the Unicode um, data type, or yeah, the Unicode convention is the normal English. Is the normal English, but the non-Unicode, sorry, the Unicode data convention is now, let's say, for example, you have the Chinese language or the Indian alphabet, because they are different strange characters. For you to be able to accommodate those, you use the NVACHA. But if it's the normal English, the British English, then you can use the VACHA. Okay, they're the same, but then one can just handle the no only the conventional alphabet, and the other one can handle the non both conventional and non-conventional alphabet, and that is the NVACHA. Okay, and then let's look at the numeric side of things. Let's look at, I think this one will be much better. Let's look at this one. And here you can see I have the order ID, which is coming in as an int, and that int stands for integer. And then here you have the unit prices coming in as money, which is also, like I did said earlier, it's the same thing as the uh, decimal and numeric data types. Okay, and also real is also another data type, and this real also means that it can be real in the sense that it also can be it's numeric, and then it also can have decimal places as well. Okay, so different software uses different types or variants of this textual data type, numeric data type, Boolean data type, and date time data type. They use different variants of them. But all you have to understand is just this the form of all these classes of data type, which is the text or character, you have the numeric or numbers, you have the Boolean, which is yes, no, true, on, off, and then you have the date and date time as well. And then now, sorry, also you have the JSON data type as well, which comes in. And then some software vendors also do, sometimes they create their own data types, but then it's still going to be within the same convention, or it might be a little bit slightly different. But you don't really come across this most of the time. And then also you will probably have a software that will actually translate this data type to the type which your system actually understands. Okay, so you just need to know that. So you have that. Let me see if I can see what we have in. Let me look at another database to see if I can find a better understanding. Let's look at, I think I created this. Okay, look at here now. Let me bring this one and you can see what the decimal and the. So here you can see here, I have said the data type is decimal, and it's going to be 18 bytes long, and the last two will be the decimal places. Okay, so if I execute this, let me do the top 10, and then you can see the data that is stored in that column, which is the sales um, table. You can see here straight away. You can see the last two is the decimal place. Okay, and here you can see that's this one here, which is, I think it's a, okay, that's not stored even as a Boolean. It was just stored as a variable character because typed in there. Okay. Okay. And then here you can see the date as well. The date here is, look at it here, it says, even the date here, okay, stored as date. So the date without the timestamp as well. So you can see here, and this date type, or this date format is the UK date format. We should also be mindful, also we have the American date format as well, which will be Also, the year, right? The month and the day is the last in America. Okay. America is the month first before the day and then the year. Okay, so in this case, if it were to be the American version, will be 2016, and that will be August 5th. But in UK here, that will be 2016, and that will be the 8th of May. So you can see the difference and you can see the gap in that date time as well. So you have to be mindful to know the exact date type which the system is using. Okay. All right. Any questions on this one before I move on to what we're going to be treating today? Any questions?
No,
All
sir.
right. Yes?
No question, sir.
No questions. Okay. So remember my last class, we actually looked at, we created a model from the north wind, and that model was this one. So I have my I have the customer, which we've created into a dimension, the customer dimension, we have the employee dimension, we have the sales fact, which is the fact table, and then we have the product dimension, we have the shippers dimension, right? We do not have the supplier dimension. We may do it or we may leave it. It's quite simple anyway. Let's try and create the supplier dimension here. I think I've created it somewhere before. Here, I'll just recreate it for that one. Let me just steal the script. Well, I'll just rename it. And that is just it. So what I'm just doing, I'm just renaming it. So then, okay, and I'm not calling it Dean. Just calling it it's a view. Okay. So I'll create that. What is wrong? Oh, so, oh, that's supposed to be supplier. My bad. Sorry. It's not. I didn't do it right. It was supposed to be this. So we now have all our tables, all our view. If I do a refresh on this one, so I have customers, I have employee, I have product, I have shipper, and I have supplier, and then I have my fact table. The only one thing that is missing is the date table, and I sent that the script which we're going to be using in Power BI to create the date table. I sent it on the group chat today this morning. So like I said in that group chat, please download it onto your laptop, and then we're going to be using it today. Right. So now we have all the views required for us, all the tables that we're required to create this Power BI project. So what we're going to be doing next is just to open our Power BI desktop. Click on my Power BI desktop, which I've already downloaded and installed, and I will be connecting to it. Okay, here now you can see Power BI has changed a lot because Fabric has come into play. So it's just not Power BI you have in your Power BI desktop now. It's a Power BI desktop with Fabric. So you can see now I can either go to open a Power BI blank page, or I use my one lake data hub. I can use Excel, and this is just bringing in my connection. But for me, first of all, for this class, I'll just click on I'm not connecting to SQL Server because I'm not doing Fabric work right now. I'm doing just Power BI. So I click on blank report, and then it brings me straight to the old Power BI page. This is the old Power BI page, okay, which is good for us. And now what I want to do next is I want to connect this to a data source. And this time around, my data source is my SQL server, where we have our tables, our view created. Okay, so good thing which I normally do is, because I can connect to it, but I want to do some bit of transformation. If I connect to it to go directly and bring in my data into Power BI, I can do that. But then I want to connect to it and I want to make a bit of slight changes to my table names and stuff like that before I bring them in directly into Power BI. So when you click on transform data here, which is here, then you select transform data from here, it's going to open our Power BI. Sorry, I said Power BI. It's going to open our Power Query editor. Okay, it opens the Power Query editor, which is this page, which you can see here. I'm moving about this page. It's the data injection engine connecting to Power BI. It's an application on its own. It's an application which is coming from Excel and it's plugged into Power BI. And you know, Power BI actually originated from Excel. Okay, so this gives me the functionality to be able to do a bit of data transformation as well. If I'm bringing in a flat spreadsheet, I can actually create my model from here before moving into Power BI as well. Okay, so here now, that is it. I now need to do a new connection. So I click on new source and then the source type, which I want to, which I will be connecting to. So in this case, it's SQL Server. I click on SQL Server, and then I have to provide the name of my server and then optionally the database. And I can either do an import load or I can do a direct query. But for the purpose of this class, we're going to use an import load, which is we're going to be taking a copy of our data from our source, in this case, our SQL server, the Northwind database. We're going to be taking a copy of this data and moving it into Power BI engine. It's a copy. It is not the, we're not taking the data, we're only taking a copy of it. So the original data remains in situ, it remains in place in our database. We're only taking a copy of it and move that copy into Power BI engine. And that Power BI engine is called the Azure Blob Storage, which is the X Velocity as well. Okay, so now I need to provide the server name. So a quick one to do that, I'll just go to my server here. I want to get my server name from here. So it's quite easy, just here, right click on it and then click on properties. It opens up this page. I'll just come into here and then I'll copy this. Just the reason why I do this is so that I will get the exact name and the exact format for it as well. So I copy that. That's all I needed from here. And then I'm back here and then I can paste it here, paste it in there. And then here I have the option for my database. In this case, I don't want it to go to everything. I'll go back to the spells and then I want to copy this is my database. So I just right click on it, properties as well. It's going to open that up and then I can copy the name here, Northwind. Right click and copy. Okay, and then I paste that in here. Okay, now it's a direct, I'm sorry, it's an import loop. Also here, if you were to be using if I want to use SQL statement, like, you know, the script for generating our views, I can copy those scripts and put them in here, meaning it's going to be generated here, but I don't want to do that. So, because I already created those in my database already. And here you can say include relationship if you want, but most of the time, I will want to create my relationship myself. So I won't check that. I want to create my relationship myself because it can get the relationship wrong. Okay, so now I'll copy, then click on OK here now. And then what it's going to do is trying to attempt to connect to my SQL server. You can see now it's gone into my SQL server and it's connecting to the right database because I've provided that. You can see it's gone to the Northwind, and I'll come down here. I see, and then I begin to select my views. Okay, I know I have this. No, this one. It should be view SOM. Yeah, that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. Then this 1, 2. I can select multiple 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it will show you for each one. It will show you the data that is stored in those views. Okay, I think those are the ones. Yeah. And then you can see the difference here. This one's here, where you see it's just a single sheet here. This indicates that these are actually tables. And anything you see that is double, that means they are views. That is the way it is, meaning that it's a view. And then you can see that the view on top of it is showing no lines, meaning that it is a virtual table over another table. Okay, that is why it is. And that's just a symbol Microsoft will use for this. Okay, and then I click on OK. And it's imported all the 6 tables. It's imported now. It's still not in Power BI. It's still in Power BI. I'm sorry, Power Query editor. So I can now go and make changes to this. And the changes I want to make is like this one. I don't want to call it supplier underscore name. I want to give it proper name, so I'll just call it supplier. Suppliers. I'm changing the names to suppliers here now. And then you can see. And then you see it says here navigation. Okay, meaning that every step which you have taken in modifying or manipulating the data and the structures here is going to be recorded, and you can step back. If I click back, if I have this, I can delete this. Okay, so for example, now I want just for you to see, I delete that. It's going to revert back to the original state. This structure is reverted back to the original state. So if I come back in here now, I can make should have reverted back. Let me step out and step back in. No, it should have. Oh, you see, Microsoft has done some other thing. Normally, if I delete it, it should have returned back, and I should just go back to the SOM space view and suppliers. Okay, and then here when you see the source, if you look at you highlight the source, you can see where that is coming from. It's coming from one vine edge of slash one Molyneux Street, and then the database is that. And if we expand on that, you should be. And this is the connection string. When you hear, oh, what is this connection string? This is now connection string, because it's telling me the connection is connecting to SQL server. Okay, and that is the data. That is the server, right? And it's also giving me the name of the what of the date of the database. And then it says migration process. You see now is 4. I can come in and type in navigation is true, and then click on that. It should. I can change that as well. You can. This is another language, which is the M language, M query board, and is the native language for Power BI. Okay. So if I come to the next one, okay, and you can see here is even telling me the source here is what? The source is it's giving me the schema, which is the SOM, and then it's giving me the item, which is now what? My view name, and then it's saying it's data. Okay. If I step back here, step back, and then you can see the connection string, and then you can see the source string. And then here I can make the change to the name. Click on that. I can either do it here or I can come in here and do it on this bit as well. So this one I want to name it as Shapers, right? Now I can go to the next one and make some changes as well. I want to call this one products. Let's do this one here. and then I can double click, and then you can change the name, products. And then here I can change this as well, double click, and then I just want to make it bar sales. That's the name of that table. And then here I can come on. And then employees. And then this gentleman, I want to change that here. Yes. And then okay. So I have named them. And the reason why I have named them in this short form is that because when you are writing your DAX query, you will be needing your dates. I'm sorry, the name of your tables will be part of it. And if the name of your table is long, it's going to make your DAX query a bit cumbersome and not really easy to read. So, but you have short names for them, it makes it a little bit better. Okay, now we have all this to create our model, but there's one thing which is missing, and that is our date table. Our date table is missing, and I'm going to create that in using the M query now. Now, the file which I sent to you this morning, let me bring my up. I think I have it open somewhere. I think here, let me see. Let's see, I have it open somewhere. Okay, I'll do something. Notepad. Don't get on my notepad. Okay, I'll bring that into view for you to see. So this is that file which I sent to you this morning. This is the file. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this code, copy, right click and copy. That's all I need to do here. And then I come back into my Power BI here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into this source and then click on it. And then I want a blank query. I want a blank query, click on blank query. And this is what it's going to give to me. And then click when that is, click on advanced editor. And then here you can see, if you look at my query, the query which I copied earlier, let me bring that again for you to see. You see my query start with a let, right? It start with a let and then hence here. So tells me you can see this one to start with a let. And then you say source in, which is, if you look at that query, it says in, add fy in, add function date table. Okay. So it's in the same format. So what you just do is highlight this and delete, and then paste the query, the script which you have copied, paste it in here. And you see it's gone through it. It says, okay, no syntax error has been detected. So then the code is good, right? And then click on done. Now, you have to provide some parameters here. First of all, what date do you want this calendar to start, or this table? What date do you want it to start, and what date do you want it to end? Okay. In this case, we're going to say I want it, because I know this data is from June 1996 to December 1999. So I'll just say, just for the sake of it, I'll say 01, or I'll just say 1/5, which is May, and then 1996. And I want it to end on the 31st of the 12th, 1999. Okay, and the first month is, I just wanted to make it, it doesn't really matter. I just make it the one, say, which is January, and then I click on invoke, and it has generated a date table for me. And if you look at it, it's generated a date table from the 1st of May, 1996. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's going to get to the end, because it's only going to show me up to 200. Okay, yeah. So, and you can see it generated it to the 31st of December 1999. Okay, 31st of December 1999. All right, and that is what I want. So here, that is my date table. If you want to generate, it's created this as a function now, and it's created a date for you. And if I want to create another date table, I can come in here and then I can put in another date range, and I can create a new one. But the one is already created, this one for it. That's what we need. And here I'm just going to change the name to dates. Okay, and that is my new date table. Okay, so now I have all my dimension tables and my fact table ready for me to be a Power BI model, and then import that data into Power BI desktop. Now, for the sake of, how do I put this now? Best practice, right? And for the neatness of your work so that you know what is what and what is not. In this case, I'm going to create a new group. I just right click here, I right click and then select new group. Okay, and then I'll give it model. Okay, and I click OK. It's going to create a folder for me. You can see that folder is empty, but this other queries folder is has got all my my tables in there. So I want to select. Sorry, 1 second, please. I don't know who this is. Yeah, sorry about that. So I want to select the tables that will be needing in my model into my model folder. So I click on the first one and then press the control key, and then I select all the tables which I want so that I do it at once. And then all these ones, and then once I've selected all, I drag them into that folder and drop. And then you can see it's moved everything that I need into one folder. And this is just a function which I can reuse. It's not part of what is going to go into my my Power BI desktop. This is what I want to go into my Power BI desktop. Okay, so that won't be going through. Now I have all these 7 and I'm ready to go look at the dates. I want to do some a bit of transformation here. Okay, I look at my ID that is really good. It looks good to me on this side because I've done majority of the work in my SQL for the structuring and manipulation of my data. So that's good, but there's still bits and pieces I need to do. So here I've done that. Yeah, okay, that's my other ID. My date table, my date columns are good. My date columns are good. My date columns are good. Good, 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 good. Okay. Yeah, they're good. My product is good as well. Product is good as well. My shipper is good. Supply is good. Yeah. Why is it giving me this? I don't need. Why is supplier giving me this? That's not what I want for suppliers. So I will take that out, delete, and I'll go and bring it back in again. Deleted that. Let me go to my table here and look at my suppliers. Here. Let's do select that. Okay, that's what I'm expecting. So I'll go back into here and then I'll go back. Now I'm not going into new source again because I already have the source. I'm just going into my recent sources. If you right click, you can see that straight away. And then I click on that. Because if you go create a new source, it's going to create it. So you have multiples of it and it's not good. You should try as much as possible to avoid that. So now let me carefully look for my supplier. Yeah, this one. If I click on it, yeah, this is what I'm expecting. So I click on OK, and I'll bring that back in here now. yeah, import, and I click OK, and it's brought it in and looks good. So yeah, and then I can change the name. And okay, and then I'll move it in here. Okay, that is done. So now let me look at my date table. That is my date table. My date table is 1999. Let's look at where it's joining to this 04/07, 1999. Okay, that's right. The date format is good, but there's some things which I don't need that is coming to this table. I don't need quite a few of them. Like now, I don't need this short here. I don't need this year. I don't need those ones. I don't need this quarter. I don't need this. I don't know the week number. I don't need the week ending. So what I will do is highlight this and then control and then highlight, and then right click and then we say remove. You see there are two things here, please. Let me step out. You see here it says remove column. That is to remove all the columns that I have highlighted. Okay. If I highlight the columns that I want to keep and only the columns I want to keep, say we have a large number of columns here, and they're too numerous for me to highlight the ones I don't want, but I know the few that I want to keep. I will just highlight those, and then once I highlight those, and then I'll say remove other columns, meaning that it's going to remove all the columns that are not highlighted. Okay, but in this case, that I've highlighted the columns that I don't want, and then all I'll say is remove these columns. Okay, and then I can use also add columns from example if I want to create a new, and then I can also duplicate a column, and then I can remove errors and all the stuff like that. These are all the transformations you can make to columns within a data set. All right, so in this case, I'm just going to remove the columns that I don't want. Is remove those. There's still some more. We're going to do a bit of transformation. So I want the date, yes. I want the year. I want the quarter. I want the month of the year, which is the month. Okay. And I want the day of the month. I don't need the day of the month. I don't need it because I'm not going to be doing any analysis on the particular day of the month. I will probably be doing analysis on a date range. Okay. And if I need to do any analysis on a particular day, and then I can use my date column. So in this case, I don't need the day of month. I don't need this int as well. I don't need that. Okay. And also, okay, quarter. I don't need this quarter name, and I don't need day of the week as well. So, but before okay, let's remove this one. I click on this. I click on this. I don't need it. Even this month calendar, I don't need it. So I'll click on this one. I don't need it. And I don't need day of week as well. So I click and then right click and then remove these columns. Now I want to create something. This I need the quarter, but I don't need the year with it. Okay, I don't need the year with it. So I want to remove I want to separate this. I want to cut it into two. So on this column, I highlight it, right click, and then when it says here, transform, no, that's not what I need. Split column, yeah. I want to split the column into two, and I want to split it by, you can split it by delimiter, you can split it by number of characters, you can split it by position, okay? But I can split it by lower to uppercase and stuff like that. But this case, I want to split it by delimiter, and my delimiter is the space between Q2 and 1996 or whatever. So I click on split, and then I click on delimiter. And then, yes, you see here, my delimiter is space. Okay, it's a space. And then you can have different types of delimiters as well, but in this case, space. and I don't need anything there. Just click on OK. And you can see it's splitted into two. So one half is the Q2 and the one half is the year. And I don't need the year anymore because I already have the year. So I will delete that. So I'll delete, remove. And then here I can rename now as I do a rename, right? Highlight and then click on rename. And then I can click in and type in water. Okay. Now I can also rearrange this. I can also rearrange this. So I have the date, I have the year, I want the month to move next to the year. Okay, I've moved that. And after the month, I what quarter? So the quarter is 42. So I just move this close to it. So that's the quarter with the Q, and that's just, I don't even need this one. So I'll take that out, remove that as well. And then this one is the month of the year, which is next to that. Okay, and that's the day of the month, of sorry, the day of the week. So this is basically the columns that I need for my date table. Okay, and you can see all the processes which I've performed on this table. You see here, it says source removed columns. That is, I removed some columns, I split columns, I changed the type, okay, and then I removed columns. So, and then you can see the last bit which I did says reordered columns. So it's giving you the step, all the steps which I have taken to transform this data. And I can go back to any one of them and I can make changes to it, or I can remove them as well. So if I want to say the reordering, if I take that out, it should return it back to the way it was before. Okay, it will return it back to the way it was before. If I click that as well, it's going to return the column which I removed there. And then you can see it's returned that back as well. So in this case, I'll just redo them again. So the quarter, I don't need that, and remove that, and it's going to record it again here. And then the reordering month, and I bring it to that for the month. And then you can see reordered, and that's it. So my bit of work I needed to do here is done. And what I need to do next is to, here, you see here it says close and apply, right? You can either apply and don't close, or you can close and not apply. But in this case, I want to close and apply. And you're going to see what is going to happen now. Okay, before I do that, let me move this away and then show you. You can see here, I have nothing on my Power BI desktop yet. Now, when I close and apply in my Power Query, it's now going to import the data into Power BI desktop. The data is still not in Power BI desktop as we speak yet now. So I'm going to do that now. Click on close and apply. And you can see it's closed that and it's bringing that. You can see it's loading the data now. Okay. And you can see straight away it's loaded all the tables into my Power BI desktop now. And you can see the first page is now for me to begin to build visuals because now I already have data in Power BI desktop. But we're not ready yet. We still need to do some work. So we go to this button here which says view, model view. Before I go there, let's now look at the data which we have imported. So you can see here it says data view. Click on the data view, and then you can see the data. That's a customer table. That is our date table. Okay. I can make some changes here, which I'll come back to. And then that is our employee. That is my fact table. I'll make some changes. And this one, and this one, and this one. So let's start with the fact table. I don't want this date the way the date is written out here. So I'll click on that. I want to do, and here you can see once I highlighted the other date, it's giving me, you say the data type is date and the date format. I want to reformat this. And when you click on that down arrow, it gives you the different formats which you want. Okay, it's giving me the long. date format right now, which I don't want. I want the short date format. So I click on that and it's going to change that. And you can see it's changed that. I want to do the same thing. So I like this and I like this. Should be able to let me do the two together. No, it's not letting me do. Normally it would let me do the two. Okay, so it's not allowing me to do the two together at the same time. Then click on it and change that to that. And then the same thing for this. Okay, I've changed the format to what I want. This one is coming in as pound. I may not want to have it as currency. I'll just have it as that's straight. I just want it as because I don't want any specific currency for now. Okay, so I'll have it as decimal. So you're going to remove. I remove it from currency. I change it to decimal. Okay. What else do I need to change here? That's good. That's good. So if I go to, I've done that for the date. Let me do it in the date side as well. So click on date and I'll make a change here to short. Okay, yeah. So I think that is good as well. Which other one needs to change? I think on my product table, I don't want that as well. I removed that and change it to numeric. Okay, and I think these are the ones that need changing really. So that is that done. And now I can now come into my model view. Yes, and you can see it's actually created my view for me, my model for me. Because of what? The relationship that was built into it. Because you can see here, I have my fact table and I have customer ID and I have customer ID here. So you can read, oh, this has got customer ID here, it's got customer ID. So there's a relationship. This has got product ID here and it's got product ID here, there's a relationship. But the ones that it cannot do is because of there's no matching identity in the column names. Like in the dates, we don't have date ID and date ID here, but we can still create it with that. And then the same thing for the shipper ID here. It's not the same thing as shipper ID here. Okay, and there's one or two things which we need to change, which I've just noticed here as well. So for us to build this model, it's always good top, bottom. You move this once your dimensions onto the top. It doesn't really matter. It's all your best practice if you want, but it makes it easy to read and then for you to get the logic how the data flows. Okay, because what it is that the numeric data for this model is all stored here. The facts is stored here in this fact table, and these ones, which are our dimensions, they only store what is the categorization that qualifies the fact. So we say a product sold 10 units. The unit that that product sold is not stored in the products table, right? In products dimension in this case, it is stored in the fact table. But because there is a product ID in the fact table that links back to the product table, we'll be able to say, okay, this product ID is actually this product. The description is in the product table, right? And then you can say, okay, oh, Coca-Cola Diet sold 10 packs on this particular day, right? Based on the rows in the fact table, okay? So in this case, I just to minimize some of these ones to put everything into one, put this into one screen. And move. Okay. So now we want to create this relationship. But before we create those relationship, this one is showing as numeric here, which is the okay, this can yes, that's right, it should be numeric, but that's numeric as well. When you see the Z sign, this sigma sign, it's called the sigma sign, it shows that that column or that field is additive. That is, it can be aggregated. It can be, you can do a sum on it, you can do average, you can do mean, max, and all the stuff on the arithmetic aggregation on it. Okay. So there are some columns that will come in that format that you don't need, like this date and other IDs. It's not supposed to be aggregated. It's an identification column. So it cannot be that. We're going to make the change at some point soon. Okay. And then you look at this. This is not supposed to be aggregated as well because it's an ID column. So here you can see, okay, you don't even have supplier there. We have the ship via ID, shipper's ID. No, that's the supplier. I think my supplier should be in my, okay. The supplier table may be useless here because we did not bring in the supplier ID. Yeah, we didn't bring that in. Yeah, we didn't bring the supplier ID. The supplier ID should be related to the product table. And then from the product table, we can link back, which is going to create a snowflake. So it might not work. I will just leave it there for now. It's not going to be part of our model anymore. Okay. But then look at this one. So I need to go make some changes as well. Let me quickly go make the changes before we do the relationship. So come back in here. Let's go to the date table. Okay. And which one was that? The month of year. All these columns should not be, they shouldn't be numeric. So come back in here. That's a date. That is telling me a text, which is right. This is showing me as whole number. I don't want it as whole number. So I come in here and I change it. You can see here, I'm not changing the format. I have to change the type. So here I'm changing it to text. Okay. And then you can see straight away it's changed to text, right? And which other ones? Let's look at, and you will see here that that sigma sign is gone away. Let me see if I see any sigma on any one of these ones. They need sigma on there, except for this one, which is the unit price, because I probably will be needing it to do some summation. So I go to products. And then this man, I change it. Yes, it's decimal, so that is still good. Yeah, it's good. It's in the right data format. Okay, all right. And this one, okay, let's go back to this, the fact table. And this one is not whole number, it is text. You can see is when you look at it, it is number, so it's numeric, but it's not stored in this instance as numbers, it is stored as text. Yeah, you can read it as numbers, but the storage is text, not. And when you want to carry out any aggregation, which is sum, subtract, add, it would not work. It will throw you an error because this data is not numeric, though it appears as numeric, but it is actually text. Okay. And then come back in here. So that's done. Okay, everything looks right to me now. Yeah, everything looks good. Now we want to create a relationship between the date table and this one. And the first one is our order date. So for me to create a relationship, I know my date column is the same as this. So I will drag it from here. This is the one side and this is the many side, because another can be, one or many others can be placed in a particular day. Okay. So the many side is now where we have the many, which is now many orders, which is now my fact table. Okay. So meaning that you can have so many orders in the order in this sales fact in a day, but a day will always be a day in the fact in the dimension table. So I take that and I drag it to my first one, which is my order. And then I drop it there. And it's going to ask me now, says from date table, dates, that column relates back to this in the fact table. It says one is a one-to-many cardinality. That is one-to-many relationship. So meaning that one date can have many orders. That is what it's just saying. One date can have many orders. Okay, so that is what it says. It's an active, and you see this check one says active relationship. Yes, it's active relationship because we're going to be creating more than one. Okay, and then here it says it's cross filter direction, which is going to be filtered from the dates table to the orders table, and is a single directional. You can have bi-directional, which is you can filter from the sales fact back to the date table. In this case, we're not doing that. It's just from the date table to the sales fact table. Okay, so if you want to do both directions, in this case, it's just going to be single direction. Okay, and I click on save. And it's going to create that relationship. And you can say that this is the one side and this is the many side. The star represents many and the one represents one. So it's one to many. And you can see the arrow here. It's telling me it is flowing from the date table down to the fact table. So when we create our DAX query, it's going to filter, it's going to take a particular day and then filter down to the sales fact and then select all the dates in the sales fact that matches the date we have selected in our date table and said, okay, yes, this is all the rows that relate to that date, and then we can now do our aggregation on that sub data set. Okay. So, but then we still need to create another relationship back to the required date because we want to do analysis on the required date, also do analysis on this on the ship date as well. And it's going to be straight from that one. But you can only have one active relationship between two tables. One active, you can have many relationships, but one of them will only be active. The other ones will be inactive, but you can make those inactive dates active in when you're writing your DAX query. Okay. So in this case, I bring that back and I go to the required dates and I put it there, and you see here is unchecked. They make this active relation because you can only have one active relationship at a time. So, and that is what I want. And I click on yes, is this one too many as well? I click on yes. And it's going to create this with a dotted line, with a broken dot, which is this broken dot signifies it is not active. It's an inactive relationship. Though there is a relationship, but the relationship is inactive. Okay, and then I do the same thing for the ship date. Yes, that's what I want. And it's going to create that one. So this one also is inactive as well. Okay, now we've created our model. So when you're asked in the interview, how do you create a Power BI model? This is how you create a Power BI model. All the steps we've performed up to this stage is creating the model, and now this is our model. And this is what we're now going to be using to create our visuals. But then the next thing we're going to be doing is to create our DAX query. Okay. So, and that is now I need to drop this one so I can remove it. I can remove that from the model. I don't need it. So click on that and close and say yes. It's yes. It has removed that. Okay, so this is my model now. That's this one. Okay, and go back to my report view now. So my data model is ready. I can begin to create my visuals. For you to see what we have created, let's just try see. This is our fact. If I want to bring in a visual in here, excuse me, you don't highlight anything. You can click in here, and then you can see the different visuals you can have, you can use, and there's still so many other ones. You can get more if you click on here, this ellipsis, click on it, and then you can import more. Let's see, get more visuals. Just take it to the website, and you can see These are all other visuals which you can bring in, and then you can categorize. And then if you are skilled enough, you can create your own visuals as well. You can actually put them in different categories. Okay. But one thing here, these are visuals that are created by third parties. This is not created by Microsoft. It's not created by the Power BI team. It's not created by Microsoft. But Microsoft has tested them and they say they're good. But there is always a caveat. And the caveat is that they are not supported by Microsoft. Okay, one. Two is that at any point in time, the provider of these visuals can withdraw them. And once they are withdrawn, any report or dashboard you have created with these visuals will throw you an error because it's no longer available. Okay, so Microsoft saying you can use them, but use them with bearing the caveat in mind that they're not supported, one, and then it can be withdrawn at any time. And when it means they're not supported, yes, they tested them and everything, but they're not guaranteeing that they're 100% foolproof, that there won't be any data leakage. Though they have tried as much as possible to circumvent that, but it is not 100% foolproof. No. I use them when I need them, but use them with caveats as well. So even at work, when I need to use them, I need to ask permission from our IT guys, the security guys, cybersecurity guys. I want to use this visual. Is that okay? Is this supported? Can I do that? Because if not, you may get yourself into trouble that you actually used a visual that made the company system vulnerable. And from that, the business was attacked and will be very costly for you. So please do always ask permission when you're going to use these third-party visuals. And also, if you have a very good development team at your workplace, they can develop visuals that meet your company's requirements, and then you can import those one into here and use them. Okay, and then this is for the people who are using the App Store as well. Just something. Okay, all right. So close that. So the first one I'm going to bring in just for us to demonstrate that is to bring in a table. I click on table, and then it's going to bring that visual in here. And then I now need to access the data, which I already have in there. To access my data, you can see here, it says add a data and build a visual, add data and build a visual. So meaning that I can bring in my data, click on there, and then you can see I can change this view, this visual to any other one if I've brought in the wrong one. But in this case, click on that, I can bring in data as well. Say add data, which is going to bring in, it's going to open this up for me here. Click on here, and then you can see I have access to what I have here in here, and then I can expand. So first, let me bring okay. Okay, let me do something. Quantity. You can see here, this is the total quantity. You can see it's done the aggregation for me. It says sum of quantity. It's summed it up. And the way DAX works, DAX means DAX, but that means data analytic expression. So that is the language for Power BI, data analytics expression. It's a bit different. The logic is a bit different from from SQL, but Microsoft is doing all its best to actually bring the two together. So that is becoming more and more closer and similar to SQL. Okay, and I can say in the nearest future, the very nearest future, you can actually use you can honestly use the same logic in DAX as in DAX. And also the other alternative also, which is the ChatGPT. If you want to write if you've written your query in in SQL and you're struggling to convert that to DAX, you can actually take that query and put it into ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT to convert it to SQL, also to convert it to DAX for you. And I can assure you that it would convert it. But then ChatGPT is not very, very efficient. So the DAX query may not give you the exact results which you may be expecting. So you may probably need to do a bit of tweaking in there as well. So now, the way Power BI works or DAX works, let me go back into here and show you something. You see on the fact table, when it says quantity, what that visual has done is taking everything in this column, everything from start here to the bottom and summed everything together. So that works on column basis. It does not work, it works on row by row basis, but the default for DAX is works on column basis. Okay, so its aggregation is on the entirety of that column. Okay, but I can break it later on, which I will show you a little bit of that as well. So what is done is just come in here and sum everything together, and that is what we have, and that is what we have here. The total number of the total quantity sold. Okay, now that is aggregate. I can now come in and say, okay, you know what? I want to break this down by product. I want to break this down. That is why we now have this qualifier. When I said our dimension is the qualifier for our fact. Okay. Now this is sum total, everything. It removed every filter. No filter has been applied here. Everything in that. Removed all the filter. I can now begin to apply filters. And the filter are now my dimensions. So I want to see the total, and this is the total quantity of products sold from June 1996 to December 1999. That's the total quantity sold. But I now want to break it down. Let's break it down by year. So I'll come into here, and I can now apply year into it, bring year into it, and you can see it's broken it down now by year. So in 1999, 1996, this is the total quantity sold. In 1997, this is the total quantity sold, and 1998, that's the total quantity sold. So even the data is not going up to 1999. So just 1996 to 1998. Now, you look at it, okay, so you can see how it's beginning to slice it down. And I can now come back and say, you know what, I want to even see it by month, okay? Each year, and then I want to see it by month. You can see the total quantity has not changed. The only thing that is changing is the way it is being now sliced down into individual components. So you look at it in August, oh, I need to do something. You look at it in August 1999, in 1996, this is the quantity sold. In December, that's the quantity sold. In July, that's the quantity sold. In November, that's the quantity sold. And in October, that's the quantity sold. And September, that's the quantity sold. And if I want to now say, okay, because this is giving me everything in this data, I want to apply another filter. I can now bring in an external, this is an entity, I can now bring in an external filter to this as well. And that is, I come back in here and I look for what is called my slicer. That's a card, that's my slicer. So I bring my slicer. For me to bring my slicer, I don't highlight anything. I click on the blank space in here and I click on that. It's going to bring that in. If you made the mistake and you highlight this one and go and click on another visual, it's going to change this visual to that which you clicked on. So be very careful. Always click on the blank space first and then go and click on the visual you want to bring in. So I brought in my slicer here now. And my slicer, like it says, is going to slice this data for me. But how do I want it to slice it for me? And in this case, I want to slice it by the year. And I put it in here. I brought in my year. So if I click on that and then I click on that, it's not going to filter for me. It's filtered now only for 1996. You can change that to 1997, and you can see it's only going to return 1997. So in 1997, this is what we've done. In 1998, this is what we've done. If I click out, and then you can see, and then if I say, okay, I can apply the filter, I can change that. Okay, that is the, I can also create some visual, but this is without me even creating any DAX measure at all. This is the default coming in from Power BI. Yes, this is good, but it's got its limitations as well. When we begin to do complex, when you have complex requirement, okay, you want to subtract the sales from 1996, you want to know the variance, the difference in from 1996 to 1997, from 1997 to 1998, you want to see the difference in the drop or in increase in sales. You cannot do it without creating DAX measures. Right now, you can create this, you can create visuals, and boom, you're going. If you're creating simple visuals and all the stuff like that, I can turn this into something else as well. Click on this, click on that. I can turn it into a bar chart. You can see that. That's why we said visualization. You're visualizing your data. I can turn it into that. I can turn it into a part. I can turn it into, what can I turn it into again? I can even turn it into anything really that will make sense. Let me turn it into a pie chart. And then you can see that. So the colors is for different years. So you can see at a glance here, that's why I said visualizing your data. At a glance here, I can see that 1997 has the highest quantity sold. And the next year that follows that is 1998. And then, okay, we did very little in 1996. And then you can see the percentage that comes with it for each of them as well. For each of the month, you can see the quantity that's around 2,000 plus, and it's only contributed 3.73% to the overall. And I can make it change, and then it's going to make a, let's do that. And then you can see this is for 1997 alone. I see all of it, and then you can see what it's contributed. So because the data, you can see that is changed now. The figures is changed because why? It's not looking at it for the all of the from 1996 to 1998. It's only looking at it from for 1997, month by month, and then you can see the percentage changed as well because it's not what's it called aggregating on the total of 51,000 plus is averaging now on the total of 25,000 plus. Okay, so that is what you can see. You can see different things. And then you can see here for 1998, you can see the difference as well. And I can change these visuals as well. I can say, okay, you know what? In here, why? Come in here, excuse me. And then I can modify this. Say, okay, I want it to come in. You see my month. I can apply some filters here. I'll come back to this one later on. I can apply some filters here. And here, oh, where is that? Okay, because I've not created any. Oh yeah, you should be able to. Okay, you can see I can add some other things here. Okay. Okay, now I can come in here. I can make changes to this visual. I can change it. I don't want it the name here. I can change the title. I can change the data format. I can change the divider and a lot of other things there. I can rotate that. Okay. Now, if I now want to say, give me the variance between 1996 and 1997, that becomes a problem. Because now I have to create another calculation which we take the quantity for the total quantity for 1997 and total quantity for 1998 and subtract that from it and give me the difference. But I can't do that with the sum here because this sum is not reusable. And that is why we have the DAX query. This is what the engine has provided for us. But now we want to step out and do extra. And that is how the DAX query comes in, the DAX language. Okay? So, any questions before I move on this? And then I can also change this. You see here, where is that? Come back in here. Yeah. I can change this as well. I can change that. Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Don't let me do that. Come back in here. Where is that? Okay. Where is that? Where is that? Where is that? Okay, this sum here. Okay, I can change that sum to other aggregation as well. So, is that summation? Yeah, summation. I can change it to average, mean, max as well. So if I don't want, that's the sum of it. I want the average, and it's going to change that straight away. So it's done the average. The average is the total divided by the number of occurrence. So it's done that for me on the fly as well. So it's changed it to average of, and then I can do the mean as well and all the stuff like that. But then these ones, like I said, they're not reusable, right? And if I come, I change that, I saw variance here. Let's see the variance. Yeah, but I don't really have understanding of variance here. What is it subtracting from what to get these numbers? Okay, so that leads me to our DAX query. So I'll leave this. I'm going to create a new table, and that's also good for best practice. And this is where we're going to store all the measures that we're going to be creating so that they are grouped together in one place and you can easily go back to them. And because if I want to create a measure, I can just click on here and then say new measure, and it's going to create it then. But I don't want to create it because these measures I'm creating, they are not physical. They don't hold data physically like in a table, but they are more like I'm creating a view on top of a table, like we did earlier, which is the data is actually not held in the view. The data is held in the tables. But when you execute the view, it goes in to fetch the data, the resultant data based on your query from the table and present the data, the result set to you. The same thing is with a DAX query. A DAX query do not hold the data. It is just the logic, it is just the logic, the syntax for what manipulation you want to be done on the data, on the line data, and that is what is held. But once you execute that or you call that query, DAX measure, then it goes in and fetch the data and present it to you. Okay. So in this case, I'll create a new, say, enter data. I click on that. It gives me, it says create table. I'm not creating actually a table. Just come here and say, I'll call it key measures. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll come back to you. I'll rename it again. Sorry. Let me remove it and then recreate it. Recreate it, yes. Okay. So new, and I call it key measures. Okay. And then click on load. Okay. So that is now my table here, but it's going to change. Look at the logo is coming because it's thinking it's a table. which is true. It said, but this is going to hold just my query, my DAX measures for me. I right click on that, select that table, right click, and then I say new measure. And the first thing I'm going to be creating is, you see, when you are writing a DAX query, the name of the measure you are writing is always on the left, and then you have your equal sign, and your logic for your query or measure is now on the right side. So the first one I'm going to be creating, I want to call it total quantity, because it's going to is going to be an unfiltered measure, which is just like what we have here. Total quantity. Total quantity space, and the total quantity is going to be sum. Here, let me give you see, you have sum, we have summarize, we have summarize column, we have summax. But we're using the sum here. Okay, and you can see I want to read more. Click on that. Say add all the numbers in a column. Add all the numbers in a column. All the numbers, nothing excluded from the beginning to the end of that data. If the data is 1 billion rows, it's going to add everything in that column. For that column, not for the whole of the table, it's just for that column which you are specifying. So here it says add all the columns in a column. So sum bracket, it says here, is asking for the column name. It is not asking for the table name, it is asking for the column name. So in this case, and you can see it's brought me out all the lists of the columns. You say this is the table and these are the columns that comes with it. So for me, for ease, because I know it's fact, just to filter out, I said fact, then it filters out for fact, and then I want the quantity column. And then I select that, and then I close the bracket. You can see I've created my first measure. And then you click on the commit, that is the check mark. Click on that, and then you can see it's going to tell me that's total quantity here. Let me bring this on in. And then the next one, I right click again. So that should come up. Okay, I want to create that. I have the total quantity now. I want the total freight. Freight cost. You see, your measure name can be the name of the requirement or the column you want to create. So in this case, we can have total quantity. You have a total quantity column. You can have a total freight cost, right? You can have that kind of a name, which is what you're going to be using directly in your visuals as well. So your measure reasonably well that you can use it directly in your visuals. Okay, so here I'm going to say sum, and this one I want to be fact, and this time is the freight. And you can see here also, which I forgot to mention earlier, once you are passing in a column or column name, right? When you are creating the base measure, like we're creating our base measure now, right? It will always contain the name of the table. So that column name will be the name of the table plus the column name. It will not just give you the column name. You cannot just put in the column name. It wants to know where that column is resident, where that column resides in the data set. So in this case, it wants to know the name of the table, and then you'll reference the column. So that is why in this case, it says fact sales freight. The other one will be fact sales quantity. And then you close the bracket. Okay. Now, I've created this, I've created that. Let's look at our facts table. Now let me now say, now I've created these two measures in here. You can see a measure is represented by calculator logo. That's just to say it's a calculation. It's a calculation. Okay, it is not physical data. It's a calculation. Okay, so come in here. I want to remove this, and it's going to change this icon for me as well to show that this table now is not a physical table, but a virtual table. Okay, and I remove that. It said remove from. It's please be careful. Don't select. If I select it, it's going to delete this. So it is this I want to delete. Okay, you can even do it this way. Do it that way, and then I click here, and then say remove from model, and say yes, and it's going to change this now. And you can see now it's changing to calculation, so that means it's virtual. Okay, so it's something went wrong. Okay, thank you. So you can see, and it's moved it to the top because it's not part of these physical tables anymore. Okay, so it's a virtual table now. Okay, so we've done that. Let's look what else is needed. So we have the unit price, we have the quantity, and we have our discount as well. So we can calculate our total sales as well. So I come in here, it is let me do something again. Let me calculate my discount. It makes it easy for me to do that. So I have, okay, I will do something. I will not calculate my total cost, total sales here. I'll do some calculations here before I do that. So I have created a measure, and also we can create what is called a calculated column. A calculated column is now is a measure that is created in the table. The calculation is done in the table in Power BI, and it's going to be physical. So in this case, I can come in here and then I do this, and then you see here it says new column, right? When I click on the meaning, I want to create a new column in this table. I click on that, and then I want to create it. I want to call it total. What should I call it? I'll call it sales amount. Sales amount. And what I want to do is now I want to say what's the column name, which is quantity multiplied by unit price. I want to do quantity. I want to do, yes, which is now what I'm going to do. I didn't take you this. Sales amount. Okay. What should I do here? Sorry, wait me 1 second. What should I do? Sales amount. Okay.
Maybe unit price times quantity.
Yeah, but there's something I need to do first. Okay, calculate. You see this calculate is, I told you earlier that the way when you create a measure, it works on the column. So like when we created the sales total quantity, it sums the column together. There's no filter applied. But now what we want to do is that if you look at, let me stop this and then explain and do a bit of explanation. Coming into here. Okay, that's my sales. Okay, now you look at it. I want to multiply this one by this one.
Yeah.
I want to multiply price by the quantity. Okay. But like I explained earlier, when you do a sum aggregation in Power BI, right, the DAX measure, it works on the whole lot of the column here. So when I do a sum of quantity multiplied by sum of unit price, that will not work. And the reason is they are not the same product. The prices we have here is not the same, it's not for the same product. So multiplying the total quantity by the total price is not. Yes, if you look at it logically, it might make sense. Okay, yeah, it's the total price, but it is really looking at it critically logically, you will find that that is not right. Because it is not just one item. It is not one product. So they fall into different things and they fall into different days. The same product can sell at a different price at a different day. So how do you find that out? So what we need to do in this case is when we're creating this now, is that we now want to calculate, we call it the context evaluation in when you're in DAX, right? So the evaluation now is now going to be a filtered content evaluation. Rather than we going the whole column, we want to now break that and go row by row.
Okay.
Okay. Rather than going column wide, we want to go row by row because we want to multiply this by this, this by this, this by this, so that we get the true answers for each one.
Yes, sir.
So now that is why we now need to introduce another function in that, and that is called the calculate. Okay. And then, or we can even change that and use the SumX. The SumX actually reintroduce which is now rather than going the whole column, it goes row by row. So we do a SumX. So come back in here, and then we do column. And we do then we do SumX. See here. SumX. I'm going to bring in the for you to read the definition. It says return the sum of an expression evaluated for each row table. Returns what? The sum of an expression calculated for each row rather than for the whole of the column. So rather than it going the whole column is now changed and now go from row by row to give us the sum of that. So it says sum, and that is going to be SumX, and that is going to be facts table, right? And then I'm passing it. You see now I said, pass me the table. You can see now, I said before when passing me the table, now it's saying which table and then what is the expression. So I'm going to now say quantity. You see now, it's brought quantity and then multiply by unit price.
Unit price.
And then it's going to bring that. So it's now broken and said, okay, for this, I iterate through row by row. And then I do a close. Okay. And then click on that. And when I come in here, you can see was it done this? Why is it done that? Okay, no. Yeah, it should be this multiplied by that. That should be 77. Why is it giving me this figure? So yes. And I don't want it as currency. I want it. What is that? Why is that giving me that? But this is the same table. So my filter content, because you can see here, it is, okay, I need to do something
Figure looks very big.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to correct now. Let's see. Yeah.
And it's
Okay.
the same all through.
Yeah. You know why? I needed to break that down. So let me re-explain. Let me re-explain this. I'll take it out. The the SUMX, like we did read in the description. It says is evaluate at this total sum and at the row by row level. So what is done is that it is now applying that on the row by row level, but then it is still working on the total sum. If I come back with this, then you see what I'm saying here. SUMX. Okay, it says returns the sum of an expression evaluated for each row. So it's returning the sum of the whole data set, but it's now applying it on a row by row basis. That's why it's the same all through, because it's the total sum. It says the sum of that expression. Okay, it multiplies it by this, and then that's it, total. But now for us to be able to get the actual value for each row rather than the total sum for the all of the data, we need to apply another function. And this one is now what actually breaks it back to say, rather than you do this total sum and your whole data set is not the whole of the data, but it's each row at every point in time. So we do look at it, okay, the whole data is this, what's it called? Is this other ID, right? And then it does this multiplied by that, right? And give us the answer. This multiplied by that gives us the answer. Rather than doing the total sum here multiplied by the total sum here, which is wrong. Okay, and that is why you need to now apply. The first thing you need to apply is this, which is this function calculate. And calculate, it says evaluate an expression in the context modified. You can see that it is now modifying the total, our SUMX, by filters. And the filters now is now going to be on a row by row basis. You will filter for each row rather than the whole of the data. Is that understood? Because
Yes, sir.
I need you to understand this basic logic. Understanding this, you'll be able to build complex one if you understand the basic, because it's always one thing with that is which is very good, is always building on top of each other. It's you have the base and then you build on top of it. You will see that in action very soon. So you use the calculate to break that filter, to apply a filter. And the filter now, in our case, is going to be the row by row. Because if we have used the sum, it's still going to just be on the sum is just going to be on the all of the data. But because we are using SUMX, right? SUMX breaks it down, is now on the row by row level. Okay, so I do calculate. But you see, calculate says, what is my expression? And then what is my filter? It says, evaluate an expression in the context modified by filters. So you will see now, my expression is now going to be, my expression is this. Fact sales. You won't let me because it wants that expression. Okay. So what I'll do is this. I will now bring in this to bring in my row filter. So I bring in my row filter, which is the X, SUMX, is on the row level. The sum is on the whole data set level, and SUMX is on the row level. Okay, SUMX, and then I say fact sales, which is now my table. And then I want to now do quantity multiplied by unit price. Okay, and I even want to do, do I want to do that? Let me get the actual price really. So I'll say total sale. I'll change the name of that to total sale. And then I'll say minus for axis, and then I want to subtract the discount. That's my discount. And then I close that. And then I close that. You see here, you have to close the bracket twice. You see there's a red here, meaning that needs to be closed as well. This one, this bracket closes this one. And this next one, meaning that this is just close, you've not closed this one. So you have to bring the next one and close that. So, and then I want to call this total sales, rather, total sales. Rather than total. Or total amount, let me put it that way. Okay. And that is it. So where there is a discount, it was going to have applied the discount. Let's look at that. Let's look at this too. And then you can see it is applied the discount, multiply this by this, right? And you find out that you've applied the discount, which is 9% or so. You've applied 9% discount on that, because this 15 multiplied by 2, that should be 30. So that's yeah, it's applied the discount. All right. Okay, so we've created that. That is, you can see this data. So this data is actually physical. So when we are creating this, it was not a measure, it is a column. We created a new column. Okay, but the good thing about this is that the volume of data that will have come in, if we have created this in our view and bring it in, will be more. Because now the data which we have not increased the volume of the data we brought in. It's not the same thing. It's just that we're now beginning to manipulate the data. So this is actually not it's not a new data. It's just a combination of two columns. Manipulation of two columns to get this, right? If you go back to the underlying data, this is not there. It is only here. So we have saved a lot of space in here as well. So we've done that. And if we want to see what the actual sales is without the discount, if I can rename this as the discounted sale and the non-discounted sale, let's do that. So I want to create something else. Or I can even create that as a measure later on, rather than having to create it here. I can even create that as a measure. So let's do that in the measure. Okay. So I want to create that as a measure. So what I can do, come in here, create a new measure. And then I'll say, that is total amount, okay, total sales, or total sales. Let's call it total sales. I don't want to use something close. This is discounted and this is non-discounted. So I can now say no, that I need to total sales will be let's do
Total sales and discounted total sales.
no, I want to do, because this is physical, I want to be able to make this flexible. So I need to create this as a measure, and then makes it easy. So I'll still call it total sales. I'll call it total sales amount. And then I'll say sum of fact, and it should give me that amount. Total sales amount, total amount. So it's giving me, I've made it easy. Okay. And then I can now create a new measure. Total sales now. No. That has been discounted. No. Let me change this so that I can do the manipulation out there properly. Let me change this. And change this now. I can remove, let's leave it. Let's apply the discount outside. Okay. So when we come back in here, I can now say that's my total sales. I can now call this total sale discounted amount or discount amount. So my discount amount will now be my total sales minus two calculation. Let's look at the discount first. Let's look at the discount first. Discount. A discount will now be okay, I'll do something. There's some things which is better in there as a column than as a. I'll create another column. Discount amount. Will now be calculate. Calculate. I want to get these minus that, but that is in percentage. So this is going to be calculate sum x. Sum x and fact table. Fact cell. Fact cells. Okay. Multiply by this one minus this fact discount. Okay. Who knows why I've done this? Sorry. Who knows why I've done this?
So the 1 stands for the 100% of the.
Yes. Because what we want to get is the, what do we want to get? Is the amount, this discount amount. And you know, this is in percentage, this discount is in percentage. So you want to get, when we do that multiply by that, is only going to return back to us. Say the discount is 25%, and you multiply that by the total sale, it's going to give you the 25% of the total sales, which is a discount. And we don't want that. We want the actual 75% rather than the 25%, because that is actually the money that came to us. Okay, and then we can find the difference by subtracting the discount amount from the sales amount, if there is any. Okay. Okay. What is that? Where's it gone? It's created. Where is it gone? Discount amount. Where is it gone? Where is it gone?
Did we finish creating it?
Yeah, I have. Look at it here.
Okay.
I can't find it here. It should be somewhere. Discount amount. That's strange.
Or should we create a new column and quickly create it again?
Yeah, it's not showing here. I don't know why. Look at that. That is highlighting that. That is highlighting that, but that's not highlighting that. It's showing it as a measure. It's showing it as a measure. Okay. Okay, what I'll do, I'll copy that. And then I'll delete that. Right click and then click it as a new column. And press that in. Okay, it should come in there now. What is row? What's the deductive factor? What is that? Dependency. What's the dependency?
I think we
Okay.
have two
Okay.
instead of
No, I
three.
know why. I know why. I know why. It doesn't want me to use this. So I need to spread this out. I'll need to scale this out. So it's going to be part sales, quantity multiplied by part sales unit price. Okay. This multiplied by this, then multiplied by this by that. Okay. So it's going to be this multiplied by this, multiplied by, yes. Yeah. So that's right. Strong again. Field error name. Why? That is that. That is that. Yeah, it should be fine. Come on. What's the dependency? What's the dependent on? It's circular dependency.
So I'm thinking it should be two brackets instead of three at the end.
No, if you look at it, it's three. You can see that. The third one,
Yes.
you can see it's for this. This, right? If I take that out, you will see this one is for that one. This one is for that one. And then this one goes back to that one. And this one goes to that one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
But it's telling me, if you look at it, it's saying sales file discount, sales file total amount, sales fact discount. But this is it's still showing me that dependency. Okay. Okay. I'll create it as a measure. I'll create it as a measure. I'll go and create this one and say, I'll take that out and just create. I want to have this. Yeah, but I wanted that for each row. So I wanted that. Okay. Okay. I'll delete it. I'll delete it. Fix it. Or do I create it as a measure?
Okay.
Total sales amount anyway. Total sales amount. Mm. Okay. Let's get to this. Okay. So for me to test that is right. Just bring in a card. I just want to see that it's working well. That okay. That's working in the right way. None of the what is total discount amount is measures currency and amount is currency. Is that okay? Right. So now I'll create. So that's the discount amount and that's the total sales. So I'll say and that is even percentage. And that is even percentage. So that will be sales. And that one to be the I'm building the second layer now. Total sales amount minus. No, it's not going to be minus. It's going to be multiplied by because that is percentage. So multiply by discount. Yeah. But you can see here, I'm using the measure which I've created directly. I'm not even using because why? I'm just doing a button to practice from it because I already done the expression before. So if I come turn this into a table, back into a table, okay, and that's my total quantity for yours to see. Come back in here, go back into here and here, and I want to see this total amount. That's a total amount. I want to see my discount amount. That is wrong. That is wrong. Let me see this. Nothing is coming through there. Uh, where's that? Sales. That is wrong as well. Okay. And I know why. Delete, delete. It's doing good. Discount. There's nothing in there. So I need to delete that. It was incomplete. This man, I'm saying the total amount. Down there, that's wrong. Discount amount will be calculate and you see one thing which I notice here, sorry, pardon me, and is that where you bring in your calculation actually matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you bring in your calculations actually matters. So um my I can still save myself this problem and let's go and do it. I can save myself is come back in here and in my fact table here, I can make the change, alter, okay? And I have my discount, I have my sales price, I have my unit price, I have that. So I can now come in here and say, because this one at the SQL level, it goes row by row anyway, so that makes it easy for us. So what I'm going to do is just going to say this one, I want to call it, I want to have unit price multiplied by quantity, and then unit price multiplied by quantity. I want to call this one sales amount. I want to call it sales amount, so I'll just put this one in bracket and put that one in bracket. So that's the name. And I want to now find out my other one, my discount amount. And I want to call the one discount amount. Discount, oops. Discount amount. And this one now multiplied by 1 minus this by that. Okay, so let's test this. Okay, this one is right. That is right. Which one has got a discount? Okay, so look at that. So this is not discount amount. I want to do this. Multiply by discount amount. So this is the amount they got in discount. And then in Power BI, we can now calculate the difference, which is going to be this subtract this from that, and that will give us the discount amount, or the actual true sales, rather, the true value that comes to us. Okay, that's the final save. So I execute that. That is good. That's the sales amount. That's a discount amount. And then execute that. So that is now there. And then I can come back in here and then I say, back to that, back to that. And then my sales fact, I can do a refresh. Where is my refresh? Where's my refresh? It's a button that I can do it. I bring in my refresh. And then it should bring that in here. Where's this? There's the button here, refresh. Okay, I just want to refresh this one. So refresh the preview. And it should have brought that. And you can see it's brought this in now. Okay, so I'm in the discount amount. And I can come in here and then I can do my formatting. Changing type, I can come in. Oh no, I have to go to the desktop. Okay, so when it gets to the desktop, I can actually change that. Okay. Okay. And then I can go to close and apply. I hope it's not going to throw an error. I need to take this one out. Take that one out. All right. This one. I'll fix that later. So I've taken those ones out. Yeah. And I can do a refresh. This one alone. To refresh that. And it's brought those two new columns. That is sales amount. That's the discount. And that's the sales amount. Okay. And these ones, I can fix those ones now. So my discount amount is going to be, I have to rewrite this one. So it's going to be 5 sales. What's that called here? Sales amount. Start. My discount is going to be calculate total sales minus total sales now minus. No, I need to do my discount amount. It's saying, okay, discount. What did I call this one? Discount amount, discount amount. Yes, so it's going to be some discount amount. Okay, and then I create a new measure, which is now going to be total sales less discount. That'll be total sales minus discount amount. Discount amount. For us to test that, continue this to table, take that out. So let's go to my sales fact. I want to do it at the other ID number. I want to do it at that level. Now I want to do total sales, discount amount, and total sales less discount. And then you can see. So you can see this one means there's no discount. This one has got a discount, and that is it. And that is what it's that. And you can see, so we can have, and then we can now do percentage variance as well. Okay, so we've done that. Okay, what else? Let's do, I've done the total freight as well. So we can do total um, um, total order amount, which is now going to be our
Total sales minus total.
is going to be total sales less discount. Total sales less discount. If there's no discount, then it's still going to be our total sales. But if there's a discount, there's going to be plus, right, our total rate. So if I bring that in here, and then you can see it has included the freight amount. So if you want to see, we can bring in our freight amount and then we can see, and let's bring it our total freight amount, freight costs, and then you can see, so if you had this plus this to give us this, this plus this should give us this.
Yep.
So that's it. So you can see how we've broken it down. And then now, let's build in some visuals now. Let's build in, okay, it's 2:30. Let's take 2:31. Okay, let's take 9 minutes break. Let's come back at 2:40. And then we'll continue from there, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just take.
Thank you.
Jide, are you there? Jide? Jide?